Hello, and you're very welcome along to a special edition of the extratime.com podcast as we're looking ahead to a historic game tomorrow as Ireland prepare to make their World Cup debut at the Women's World Cup. They take on Australia in Australia tomorrow. Even we're recording this on Wednesday night before the game. It's Donal Ryan here with you, and I have Aoife Mullen alongside me. Aoife, how are you?
I'm good, Donal. I'm good. As you say, it's a great occasion. History is being made, and it's World Cup it's World Cup Eve.
World Cup Eve, not quite the World Cup final, but the World Cup finals, I suppose, and a fantastic achievement of the Irish team to get there at all in the first place.
Yeah, it was an amazing achievement, and it's only, I suppose, in the build-up now when we're listening back to players from previous generations, players from the 70s, speaking about their experiences and how proud they feel. Because I know Vera Pauw has mentioned it many times, and the players themselves have spoken about how they're standing on the shoulders of those who went before. So it feels like, eventually we're here, and we've been nearly here so many times, and it's just great that we're now at this point where it's the night before. It's kind of got that Christmas Eve feeling for many people, and the bunting is up, the flags are up, which is great to see. I know there's been a bit of coverage around maybe the lack of jerseys and people maybe pointing out that there could have been more, but hopefully we kind of have to just embrace all the positivity and harness all the positive attitude, and I think there's plenty of that out there. And for the young children, like we saw in the preparation to the World Cup and the farewell games in Tala, the crowds that were there, breaking records, because this team have really captured the imagination of young children and their parents and grandparents, I suppose, like all generations. But just to see young children so excited is great. And I suppose the fact that it's school holidays is a bonus for the children, because, well, you're too young, but I remember 1994, and I remember slightly 1990 because I was just a toddler at that point. But that was my first taste of a big tournament and of football and getting into the Irish team. So I remember the excitement that was around that. And then I suppose 2002, that bit older. And I was doing exams at that time, so wasn't fully able to enjoy it. But I think the whole excitement, and even the time difference in Australia, getting up that little bit earlier, maybe having your special breakfast. I know there's watch parties and stuff going on across the country, which is really, really lovely to see. So it is a bit of history being made. And I suppose just thinking about the parties and people changing their schedules around to make sure that they're in their living rooms on time. I thought it was lovely to hear on the radio today and reading a few articles that the parish priest in Milford, where Amber Barrett is from, has changed the mass times tomorrow to make sure that people can go to the daily mass and also be back in time. So it's the most Irish thing I've ever heard, but I love it. And I think we look ahead at the game, but I think Ireland will need a few prayers and a bit of divine inspiration if they are to get a good result tomorrow. But we have to be positive, don't we?
Yeah, absolutely. I think you're spot on there when you say we do have to be positive. And just before we touch on the game itself, Aoife, like the ripple effect of this can't be underestimated either. I mean, it's great to see the League of Ireland having two representatives in the squad in Abby Larkin and Anya O'Gorman as well. And even looking at women's Premier Division games in Ireland, you can see like crowd like since the World Cup, sorry, since Ireland qualified for the World Cup, I should say. There's been a lot more uptake of interest in the league, the women's league here, and even with the introduction of the All Ireland Cup as well. The final of that is coming up this weekend in the showgrounds, and there's interest around that. I mean, it's getting bigger and bigger week on week.
Definitely, Donald. Yes, it is growing. And it's just, I suppose, as you say, maybe the qualification and the fact that Ireland managed to finally qualify, that was maybe the catalyst for this latest, I suppose, surge, because it's been there. But as you say, we can really see that, the visibility is key. And I think once the younger generation see that, and they're at home, and that desire to go to games, like I remember myself when, as a Dundalk fan, going to school, getting tickets. I think I was in senior infants when I got my first tickets, but coming home, asking can I go to the game, and then maybe dragging my daddy along, but getting him involved as well. So it becomes kind of a family affair, and even when we see the pictures and the footage at the end of matches where the girls on the team just make time for all of their fans. And that can't be underestimated either, because people appreciate that, they buy into it. And as you say, we've seen that, and we've seen the evidence and the fruits of that then in League of Ireland, which is fantastic. And even, ourselves in extra time, to see that interest, and to be able to feature so much coverage of the women's league is incredible and motivating for a lot of people. And as you say, Anya and Abby there flying the flag is fantastic.
The Ireland squad touched down in Sydney this morning to a huge welcome. Plenty of Ireland fans waiting there at the airport to meet them. And with the amount of Irish people in Australia at the moment as well, there's a real sense that Ireland probably can achieve something, whether the odds probably aren't in their favour, given the strength of Australia and, of course, Canada in the group as well. But there's really, people are really starting to believe now.
Yeah, that hashtag outbelieve, isn't it? It's been going around for a while, but now we're really kind of getting into that place where we have to, as you say, and as I mentioned before, have that positivity and have that sense of belief, because the girls no doubt do. And I think over the last couple of days, there's been uncertainty about Denise O'Sullivan and whatnot, and I think that's really given them a boost. The good news in that regard has really given them a boost, so you can kind of see that. But as you said, in Australia, it's probably home from home, because I think everybody in Ireland at least knows somebody who's in Australia or knows of somebody there. So hopefully those with Irish roots will be donning the green and cheering for the girls in green, because there is, as you say, such an Irish community out there. And by all accounts, looking at the footage of when they landed in Sydney, it really felt like they got such a welcome. And I know Vera and Katie both spoke about that in the press conference, and they were bowled over by that. I think that they said that they'd heard about it and that people had mentioned the support that would be there, but to actually see it and to feel it is probably going to give them such a boost, because, as you say, the odds are kind of stacked against them. It's a difficult group. I've heard it called the group of death. So challenging, but you can't underestimate that support. And I think if we think back to Giant Stadium and the sea of green, like how that will motivate Ireland, and the fact, I suppose, as well, that maybe they're playing, there's not as much pressure and expectation on them. Conversely, Australia are the home side, carrying a lot of expectation on their shoulders. But, Ireland can just go out there without being overburdened by that pressure, and play with confidence. And I'm sure that's what Vera Pauw and the management team have been saying. So, and we've no doubt that they will, because that's just, I suppose, the way they've carried themselves. They've shown such resilience and bravery, and just a real positive outlook all of the time. So hopefully that will be to our advantage.
Yeah, for sure. And with 80,000 people set to attend this match tomorrow, a sellout for the opening game of the World Cup. Of course, it's kicking off at 11 a.m. Irish time. I know I'll be trying to do my best to keep an eye on it. But as I said, 80,000 people attending this match tomorrow. Do you think that will put more pressure on Ireland, given that a lot of the players, all of the players, I suppose, wouldn't have played in that kind of atmosphere before, with crowds or in front of crowds as big as that? Or will it put more pressure on Australia, given that they're the hosts and they will be expected to beat Ireland, certainly in Australia anyway? Do you think that the weight of the crowd will carry will put more pressure on Ireland or on Australia?
What do I think? Well, I think if I'm looking through my green tinted glasses, I'll go with the latter. I'll hope that it'll put extra pressure on Australia, because the Matildas have, as I said, a lot of expectation on their shoulders. They're really expected by their fans to progress. There's talk of them being finalists and all of that. So we'd be hoping, from an Irish perspective, that will kind of put them under pressure. And I suppose, but we can't underestimate how it'll feel for the Irish squad, for the players when they step out on that pitch, because looking at pictures that journalists have sent or tweeted, and I know our own Luke is down under and he'll be keeping us updated, but it really is so impressive to see the stadium in Sydney, but that's it, kind of empty. So tomorrow it's going to be a different story altogether. And thinking of like the All-Ireland hurling final on and Croke Park, full to the brim. So when you think of the noise that's generated there, the atmosphere in a stadium where there's that many people. But for them, you know, they're professional footballers and they're going to be prepared for this to some extent. Although I can imagine like it's going to be so awesome for them, and that they will be overcome with awe when they do step out there initially. And no doubt there'll be kind of tension at the beginning, and nerves, because it's only natural that there will be. But you know, hopefully when they see the support that is out there for them, that they settle into the game, you know, if they can manage to just keep their cool for the first hopefully 20 minutes of the game, and hopefully grow into it, that won't put them off, we'll say. But it's hard to know, isn't it, at this point? What do you think?
Yeah, it is tough. It is tough. But like, given you touched on previous World Cup tournaments, 1994, 1990, and as you said, slightly before my time now, but the fans have always played their part. I mean, even if you look back to the most recent tournament that the Irish men's team were in at Euro 2016, I mean, the fans certainly played their part in that. I always remember Robbie Brady running over to his family after he scored against Italy. And then the amount, like we touched on it as well, with the amount of Irish people that are in Australia at the moment, even if they're not at, even if they won't be at the game tomorrow, the fact that there's so much support in Australia for Ireland already, I think it'll go a certain way. It'll certainly carry the team a certain distance, but I do think there will be pressure on Australia as well. And I'm not too sure how well they'll be able to handle it. I mean, their team is very strong and very impressive. I mean, one of the best forwards in the women's game in Sam Kerr, she'll be leading the line, and no doubt she'll be hungry for a couple of goals tomorrow. So if they can play up to that big crowd, it really depends. But I don't think it'll, like as you said, Ireland will be under a bit of pressure, and it will be awesome, and it will be quite overwhelming for the first couple of minutes once they step out in front of such a massive crowd. I mean, 80,000 people is nothing to be sniffed at. But I don't think Ireland will crumble as easily as people are expecting them to be honest.
No, I don't think so. I think, like as mentioned already, they've shown that resilience, and you know, they are strong characters. So I don't think they will. I imagine that, as you say, it'll take a little while at the beginning, and they'll soak it up, but that they will use it to their advantage, as previous teams have done, as you've said. And you know, being Irish, we kind of, we like being the underdog, really, don't we? That suits us. So, and Katie McCabe said that herself. So I'm kind of thinking that, again, we'll just use that as motivation.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. I mean, this, like, the underdog tag suits Ireland. I mean, they usually play their best football when nobody gives them a hope. So hopefully it'll be more of the same tomorrow. I suppose looking at the team news as well, Aoife, the big news is that Denise O'Sullivan will be fit and she will start tomorrow evening.
Yeah, that's the huge thing, isn't it? And we have to say there were a couple of sleepless nights over the last week or so, or you know, since Friday. And then when the pictures emerged of her in the boot, protective boot, and we worried at that point. And then when you heard that she had been taken to hospital again, that was kind of okay. So it must be really serious. So to see her training then on Monday and Tuesday gave us a lot of hope. And then to have it confirmed today, I think we've all got kind of breathed a sigh of relief collectively. And I think it was something that you could really sense the positivity then when Vera and Katie were speaking. And of course, like, they're going to be relieved and happy because she's such a crucial player and she's so important to the squad. The impact that she has, you know, she brings that kind of aggression, like she brings tenacity, but she's got that power and speed, and I suppose just an eye for detail, and that cleverness and ability to read the game. Like, she's great on the ball, but she's also great off the ball. And I think the fact that we're going to have her starting tomorrow is such a big bonus and such a big boost.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, she's one of the most influential players, if not the most influential player in the squad, and her importance to the squad can't be underestimated. I mean, she was a star player for Ireland throughout the qualifying campaign as well, and would have been an absolutely huge loss to the squad it would have just been so unfair on her, I think, as well, given all that she's done for Ireland, all she's done in the green shirt, and all she's done for promoting football both in Ireland and everywhere she's played, doing a great job in North Carolina at the moment as well. It just would have been beyond unfortunate luck, just a horrific luck on her behalf to miss out on what is historic for Ireland, really.
Mm-hmm. And I think that's something that, a lot of people had echoed over the weekend, because it was just that sense of disbelief. Like, how could this happen? Because, as you say, she has been so pivotal in the build-up, and this was an opportunity for her to be in that history-making team. And if that opportunity was taken away from her at the last minute due to an injury, it would have been heartbreaking. So it's just such a relief that that we've got to this point, and that she's fit and ready to go, and raring to go. But definitely she's so influential and so passionate. And there's actually a few lovely articles even on her, and that's great. Like when you mentioned earlier on about that ripple effect, and how this team has captured the public's imagination, even in the build-up, reading articles and watching documentaries. I know there's a Ross Whitaker one coming up tonight to whet the appetite, but it's great to see, and it's great to read these articles, because that's something that's very important, that we're able to know a little bit more about these individuals, these stars, as people, and that community link. It's something that's very important. So no doubt they're very excited down in Cork, and I know that Roy Keane was her role model growing up. So she's kind of having that Roy Keane influence in the centre of the park, and it's kind of ironic that she was the one that there was a question mark over, because it just seems like the Republic of Ireland teams and big tournaments, we can't have a seamless preparation period beforehand. There has to be a little bit of controversy, but anyway, we're at the other end and she's starting. That's the main thing.
Yes, absolutely. She was starting, but hopefully she doesn't follow Roy Keane's line from 2002. But anyway, I've no doubt that she won't. Obviously, Aoife, Denise O'Sullivan and Katie McCabe are kind of earmarked as the two stars of this team. But who else for you will be ones to watch throughout the course of the tournament for Ireland?
Yeah, I think, as you say, Katie's been such a leader, and she's obviously one of the high-profile players as well, because she's playing, in Arsenal, and it's relatively close, and we can keep an eye on her and see how good that she's going. But I suppose the squad there, like there's plenty to look out for, and I think that have Louise Quinn and Niamh Fahey and their experience, it's going to be really, really important. Like, our defence is going to be crucial, and we mentioned earlier on about the opening minutes of the game, where there is going to be that, I suppose, sense of awe, and people will be overwhelmed, but that our defence can kind of keep compact and do what they do best is going to be really important. And to have two leaders and people that are very experienced there is going to be huge. I suppose, like Heather Payne as well, she's attacking minded, and Katie McCabe on the far side, I think that's going to be important and one interesting one to watch, because if we look at the comments in the press conference from the Australian point of view, the manager clearly said that they've been watching footage. Of course they have, because they're doing their homework in the preparation, but that they've targeted maybe certain weaknesses in the Irish team. So we'd be hoping that, because it's so important that we keep our defensive structure and that it's strong in the opening to give us that good chance. I think that maybe the fact that Heather Payne is attacking minded and is inclined to go forward, that'll be something that we're going to have to watch. But all in all, I think we have a very strong squad, and even Courtney Brosnan in goals, and her confidence and the good performances that she's had, obviously named as the player of the year last year, that gives us a boost as well. But I think overall, even on the bench, somebody like Amber Barrett, who brings such energy to the side, and obviously getting that crucial goal in Scotland, she just showed bravery, and also that belief in herself, which is really important. Back to belief that we mentioned at the start of the podcast, that is crucial, that she was able to take that on. And we heard her saying that she had said on the side of the pitch to Vera that, if you put me on, I'll score. And that's the attitude that we need, that can do, bring me on. And then obviously Denise O'Sullivan played a crucial role in setting that goal up. But somebody like Amber, who can come off the bench and have that impact, is something that's going to be important. And also, I suppose, if we look at Abby Larkin, and somebody young as well, so that we have that kind of balance of youth and experience, because somebody who's young and doesn't, I suppose, have that fear, can play with a sense of freedom, and that brings a level of excitement, I think, and it's great to kind of have that dynamite.
Yeah, very important, I suppose, to have the kind of spring off the bench as well. Amber Barrett obviously bringing that kind of strength. She'd probably be, I don't know, not sure if she'd be more in line to start or be used more as an impact sub, as we saw in the goal that got us to Scotland. But for me, Kyra Carusa is definitely one to watch for Ireland. I mean, the last game they played against France, although France ultimately had too much to overpower Ireland and were able to kind of see them off in the second half, I thought she was unfortunate to have goal ruled out anyway in the first half. And, you know, her pace is going to cause people a lot of problems as well. Like she's an eye for a good finish too. So I think she'll definitely be one player that's kind of slipped in under the radar a little bit for Ireland in the build up to all of the World Cup games and stuff like that. But for me, I think she's definitely one to keep an eye on. And Megan Connolly as well in the middle of the park. I mean, alongside Denise O'Sullivan there, they could do a bit of damage, I think. So there'd be two players I'd certainly be keeping an eye on, and over the course of the 3 games anyway.
Yeah, I think you're right there about Carusa again, you know, slipping under the radar, maybe kind of understated, but we saw what she can do against France. And I suppose the French game, although the result was a negative one, I think there were plenty of positives in that game. And from an attacking point of view and from a goal scoring point of view, Ireland did create a lot of chances there. So, you know, they'll be looking at those positives, and hopefully we'll have worked on those in the intervening period, but that, you know, they'll take confidence from that and hopefully go on to do good things tomorrow. But definitely the threat that Carusa has is something that we hope will cause problems for Australia tomorrow, and that, you know, other also Canada and Nigeria.
Absolutely. And finally, Aoife, just before we wrap up, I'm going to get you to give me a quick score prediction for the game tomorrow. Will you go with your heart or will you go with your head, do you think?
This is the bit I don't like now, but I think I can't very well come on and talk about belief and positivity and a positive attitude and not try and be positive in my scoring prediction. So I'm hoping that if things go the way that we've talked about here, and that if Ireland are able to keep their cool for the opening, and, you know, maybe hold out, that if we do get a goal, if we can like go 1-0 up and, you know, maybe come out of this game with a 1-1 draw, I would be happy. So I'm speaking from my heart, hoping that we'll get that 1-1 result maybe.
Yeah, I'm going to agree with you that one, is go for a draw, go with my heart. I think Ireland will have an unbelievably difficult job in keeping Australia out tomorrow, and I can definitely see Australia scoring. Whether Australia can do the same and keep Ireland out or keep even a clean sheet, I'm not too sure about that. I can see Ireland definitely scoring tomorrow, provided they don't let the occasion get to them and they're able to keep a level head for the opening stages of the match anyway. And once they're able to settle down and get the ball down and play like they normally play, I could definitely see them grabbing hopefully at least 1 goal. So I'm gonna go for 1-1 as well.
Yeah, that's great. Hopefully the two of us saying that is some sort of good omen. But no, as you say, like, we're not underestimating the challenge at all. And the fact that, you know, Sam Kerr with 12 goals in 12 games, and, you know, there is that threat there, and you can't see them going without a goal in this game, because, you know, they've scored 26, I think, and they've only conceded 5 in that period. So, like, it's going to be a tough task for Ireland. But I think if we can just channel our positivity and use all of that support to our advantage, looking at the clips and looking at the tweets and getting very jealous that I'm not down there, lucky Luke. But let's hope it's 1-1.
Absolutely. Aoife, thanks very much for joining us this evening.
Thanks, Donal. Chat to you soon.
Chat to you soon. And don't forget, guys, you can get all of your World Cup content on extratime.com as well. Keep an eye on that and keep an ear out as well for more Women's World Cup related podcasts coming up throughout the course of Ireland's stay in the tournament. But for now, thanks for joining us. Thanks for listening. And of course, come on, Ireland.